is the Fade 5 Podcast with Brad Evans and Nate Lundy.
Place your bets. Brad the Big Noise Evans here, joined by the good sir. 'Tis indeed the Fade 5 Podcast on this Freaky Friday. You know what we usually do, ritualistic. Every single time we end the week, we're going to rock and roll through our favorite Week 2 wagers, at least mine, and Lundy will ultimately decide to fade or follow. But before we go to the senior circuit, we got to get some action on the junior circuit and belly up to the local college bar and hopefully make some college cash. Lundy looking at the plethora of options available on the college gridiron on this Saturday or maybe even Friday night. If you want to serve up an appetizer and hopefully score a winner there, what is your top wager, my friend, that hopefully I can cash in on? Is it your Oregon State Beavers laying a hefty sum against San Diego State, or dare I say something else?
Well, first of all, I do have a lot of piñatas. Thank you for noticing. Let's get to here's what I'm going to do, Brad. I'm going to roll the dice a little bit. I'm not telling anybody to throw maybe a full unit bet on this. Maybe you decide to do a half unit. Here's what I would do. Full unit bet on the spread, half unit bet on the money line. Do you know the last time Tennessee won in Gainesville?
1967.
20 years ago.
I was slightly off.
Tennessee has lost 10 in a row on the road to Florida, and the Gators are a plus 205 on the money line. And folks, I can't resist. I really can't. On paper, Tennessee is the better team without a doubt. That's the reason they are favored by 6.5. But something happens. The Vols' butts pucker up when they get to Gainesville for whatever reason. They have lost 10 in a row. So I'll tell you what, minus 110, standard juice, take them plus the 6.5, maybe buy yourself a point and take it up to 7.5. But I'm going to sprinkle something on the money line for the Gators to do it yet again.
Yeah, I think that's a fantastic call. Doing it for all the Tim Tebow shares that you may still have of the jerseys in your collection. I know Lundy's got a couple there in the Mile High City. They do come out of the woodwork if you walk around the streets in Denver randomly any given night of the NFL season, and you're probably going to see at least 2.5. 3 is a line on Tim Tebow jerseys. I got a similar spread and another game that could be worth a little bit of a sprinkle, if you will, on the money line. Let's go to the Lone Star State battle between Houston and TCU. This game being played down there in H-Town, and somebody rockin' knockin' the boots. If you want to go with that early 90s R&B classic, I think it's going to be the Cougs. I will take them plus the 7.5. against those not-so-great horny toads of TCU. There is a website out there called College Football Graphs, which I have fallen in love with head over heels, Lundy. It's a lot of advanced numbers, and if you're a statistical nerd like yours truly, you can really get lost in the EPA data and the projection odds and just the projection for win percentage, all that good stuff. At College Football Graphs. And this breakdown of this particular game, Houston has a 37.6% chance of winning straight up, and they're catching 7.5. We already have seen TCU underwhelm in the opener against Colorado, giving up 45 to Dion and company in that one. Very good offensive team, no doubt about it. Number 13 in the country in EPA offense, but number 114 in EPA pass defense, and passing is the MO of Houston. And Donovan Smith, who's got a 129.8 passer rating over the first couple of weeks of the season, and this collectively, this H-Town team, number 29 in offensive pass success rate. So I think they're going to put up some crooked numbers. I think they're going to get some chunk gains. It could be 30-plus points on the board in this contest. They could win straight up, but I will take them plus a 7.5. Oh, and Lundy, I tell you what I'll probably do. How about just get some all-line action at DraftKings? maybe take this line up to like plus 14.5, and then take your recommendation up to like plus 13.5. Slap those two together on Florida with the alternative spread and Houston on the alternative spread, and get that down to like plus 105 to plus 110 territory. So honestly, that might be the direction to go with what we are selling you there, and making some college cash in the end. With those bets on the board, let's go to the pros, where I'm sure to lose my entire bankroll with another edition of the Fade 5.
Number 5.
Yes, of course, I lost all my money on backing Rashad Penny. I didn't know that DeAndre Swift was going to get a goddamn 30-plus touches in his homecoming there in his first game as a member of the Philadelphia Eagles at home. But we march on, and numero 5 on the Fade 5 countdown today. Give me Stephon Diggs. Can you Diggs it? Hell yes, I can, on the over receiving yards against arguably one of the worst secondaries in the NFL, and the Las Vegas Raiders, a minus 115 there at BetMGM. Week 1, Diggs was spectacular against arguably the best secondary in the NFL and the New York Jets. 13 targets, 10 receptions for 102 yards and a touchdown. He was number 6 in total air yards, 2.27 yards per route run. Quite handsome production there. And he gets a DB most often in this game, projected the assignment here, who was rather long in the tooth. And that is Marcus Peters, once one of the finer cover corners in the league a few years back. He's a bit crustified right now, and he showed it in week number 1. He was targeted 5 times, gave up 4 receptions for 42 yards, 10.5 yards per catch, and a 101.7 passer rating. I think that's going to be a consistent story this entire season. If Peters is on the field, you can take advantage of him, and especially arguably one of the best route runners in the league will do exactly that. So fade or follow Stephon Diggs over 74.5 receiving yards against the Raiders, minus 115 at BetMGM.
Well, have we pulled Josh Allen out of the depression that he was in on the podium post-game? That's what I want to know. Like, have we managed? Like, he's got to be sitting back going, dude went down. Dude tore his Achilles, and I still couldn't beat him. Couldn't beat him. What is he now, 0 for 5 in overtime? Like, I'm telling you, if you're the Bills, you got to start going for it in the fourth quarter, because Josh Allen can't do shit in overtime, apparently.
Yeah.
He's allergic to it, which means you better get like maybe 50, 52 of these yards in the first half, because God knows what's going to happen in the second half. I like it. I'll take the over. I can't remember it off the top of my head. I'll post it up on the spreadsheet somewhere. I've got Diggs. I did a 3-leg alt total on receiving, and he's one of the legs where I brought this number down a little bit. I'll make sure that it's up on the spreadsheet later. I built it last night. I'd had a couple of beverages. I don't remember who else is in the pod, but who else is in the parlay. But I do remember that Diggs was one of the legs. Again, alt receiving. I brought him down, paired him up with a couple other dudes. I'll make sure it's up on the spreadsheet later.
Yeah, raise a frosty mug or 3, take Stephon Diggs, and celebrate an eventual over on 74.5 receiving yards.
Number 4.
All right, numero quattro on the Fade 5 today. Let's talk about the Mack Daddy, who hopefully is going to make me jump. Old crisscross reference there, and that is Mac Jones, a man who is a dad bod carved after my own heart, taking on the Miami Dolphins at home. And I am going to take the over on the Mack Daddy, 232.5 pass yards, and what it could be a pew shootout affair there between the Patriots and Dolphins, minus 115 at BetMGM. I think this number is about 17 to 20 yards too low. You look at week number 1, Mac Jones, very aggressive, very assertive, and relatively on point with the exception of the one pick in his matchup as he went 35 for 54, 316 yards, a trio of touchdowns with that pick. He even chipped in 15 rushing on the ground. Number 3 in total air yards, number 3 in total deep ball attempts, 6 to be specific. A pretty decent adjusted completion percentage as well. And you look at what he did against Miami's secondary last season. Only went 213 and 204 through the air in a pair of matchups. But the Dolphins, 6.9 pass yards per attempt allowed in their opening week matchup against the LA Chargers. Only gave up 228 to Justin Herbert. That's probably why this number is as low as it is. But New England is going to keep pedal pressed to the metal and attack vertically and aggressively. Whether or not Devontae Parker's in uniform, it doesn't matter. Looking very iffy. Could be Kendrick Bourne again. Could be a little Juju Smith-Schuster. Maybe get the running backs involved with a little nickel and dime style. Regardless, based on volume alone in a game that could be 1st to 35, give me the over. Mac Jones, 232.5 pass yards against those Fins, minus 115 at BetMGM. Lundy, what do you say?
Well, you actually hit the more important one for me, which is the over, because I think it is going to be the first team that gets to 30, maybe 32, with the way that I'm expecting really not all that impressive defensive performance here. But yeah, I like this one a lot. I think he's going to wind up being, I'm going to call it mid 240s. I think he's going to beat this by a good dozen to 15 yards. Look, the odds makers know what they're doing, folks. These lines are not going to be that far off, but I do believe in his case, we're going to see the game script. They are at home. Put all that together. I like him to be able to get the over on the passing yards, unless the hoodie just decides to be an asshole, which he's known to do.
Yeah, well, hopefully my asshole will not be puckering up too much on this one. Mac Jones, make it a breeze and cash the over on pass yards.
Number 3.
Numero tres of the Feed 5 countdown today. Let's work in a little SGP at plus money and get, seduced by that juice in the match between the Baltimore Ravens and Cincinnati Bengals, and exercise the demons. That's exactly what Joe Burrow is going to do after that clunker that he had in week 1 against the Cleveland Browns on the road. Might be the worst performance of his NFL career over the entirety of his career when it's all said and done. So he's going to snap back and storm back with a vengeance. So give me Joe Burrow, 2+ passing touchdowns, and let's correlate, synergize, and bring it all together. If I believe that Burrow is going to go off vertically, that means somebody's going to benefit, and that somebody most definitely is going to be Jamar Chase. So give me him and leg numero dos, 70+ yards on that alt threshold. Put those two together again, plus 125. Yes, please. At DraftKings Sportsbook. A little bit of background here on Joe Burrow. You look at the Baltimore Ravens, only gave up 5.5 pass yards per attempt and 0 touchdowns in week 1, but that was Houston. Okay, that was C.J. Stroud, his first meaningful action of his NFL career, playing it rather conservatively. Not going to be the case with Joe Burrow, who is going to shake off the rust, didn't have any preseason snaps, and you saw that as a major influential factor in week number 1. Now, last season at a pair of matchups against his franchise, he went 1 passing touchdown and 1 passing touchdown. But he's got to double it up, son, because I still believe that this Ravens secondary, which was projected to be a bottom 10 pass coverage unit, is going to live down to that expectation. You look at Jamar Chase, meanwhile, 9 targets, 9 times in week number 1, 5 receptions for just 39 yards. And I think he's, going to flirt with 100 yards in this one. Went for 86 yards on 8 catches in the second matchup between these two franchises last year, 7 for 50 in the first one. It's going to be more the latter than the former. Going to get a lot of Stevens in coverage, who gave up a 95 passer rating, 10 targets, 8 receptions for 68 yards as Stevens allow in his week 1 matchup against those Texans. So pull it all together. Joe Burrow, 2+ passing touchdowns. Jamar Chase, 70+ receiving yards. Slap those two together, you're looking at plus 125 at DraftKings. Lundy on this SGP. Fade or follow?
I'm going to fade because I don't trust Joe.
Oh, really?
I don't trust Joe. He's got 5 in his 5 games that he's had against Baltimore. He's got 9 touchdowns total. It's just I'm not seeing it out of Burrow when he takes on Baltimore. So I think he's going to get 1. Like, I'd be willing to make this a 1 passing touchdown Jamar and find another leg that I like, but I don't trust him for 2, Brad. I don't think he's 100%. I think that everybody that's like, oh, he's going to bounce back. I don't think he's 100% right now. I really don't. And I think that until he is, I can't trust him the way that I did and the way that people were talking about, well, is this going to be the year? Is he going to be in the MVP conversation? Is it going to be? I don't know, man. What I saw in week 1 was not pretty. And I don't, as much as I believe in the guy, because I do really like him, get the shades, get the cigar, kick it back, He's just kind of one of these modes, he's happy. I like him, but I don't know that I trust him, Brad. So I'll tell you what, I love Chase at the 70. Good call there. I think what I would wind up doing is taking Burrow for 1 or more, and then I'm going to find another leg in this game that I like a little bit better than running the risk that he's going to wind up with 2 passing touchdowns. So I see where your head's at. Until I see it from Joe, though, I don't know that I can trust him in this kind of a situation for a same game parlay. So try to get creative, folks. Run with Brad if you want to. Ignore me. What did I tell you? Week 1, I went 1-12. Don't listen to this idiot, okay? But let's be honest, that idiot didn't do much better. So just be careful what you face. So like I said, I might dumb this one down, find another leg that I like, but that's just me. As it stands, I would fade it, but I think there's an opportunity here to tweak it, find something that you like.
Fade the modern day Joe Cool? Lundy, you're a straight up fool.
Number 2.
Numerados here on the Fade 5 countdown. Let's get under the radar here, really under the microscope, because you gotta squint. You gotta peer through that little device to try to find this one. This one is off the radar on a player prop, and it's CJ Stroud. And give me the over, and let's see. I'll focus on this. The rush yards 12.5 against the Indianapolis Colts, minus 115. This one available at BetMGM. Now, CJ Stroud, not really known for his running ability. He certainly didn't really show that often at the Ohio State last season with the Buckeyes. He did run 47 times, but only for 108 yards in 13 games. Now, in week 1, as a member of the Houston Texans, 4 rushes for 20 yards against the aforementioned Baltimore Ravens. Now, the Colts in week 1 gave up 7 carries for 21 yards to Trevor Lawrence. I think Lawrence and Stroud are somewhat similar in their rushing approach and identities. Guys that are more opportunistic than designed runners, although they may have a designed run or 2 in a game. Still, I think he gets the over on this. I think it's 15 to 20 rush yards here in the end, and what could be a sneaky shootout between the Texans and Colts. So Lundy, fade or follow CJ Stroud over 12.5 rush yards against those My Little Ponies, minus 115 at BetMGM.
It's you digging deep, man. You can tell when it's been an off week in the NFL when you decide to start.
I'm already chasing again after Thursday night. Why? Rashad Penny screwed me, not only because he didn't get hardly any touches, but because of his hold on the touchdown pass to A.J. Brown. I would have cashed the over on A.J. Brown longest reception and Jalen Hurts over one and a half that passing touchdowns on the same stinking play. But no, Rashad Penny had to grab a dude. Screw that cat.
You see, folks, I mean, I wish I could explain to you that he's not just like this when we're recording. He's not. He's like this. He's like this all the time. It's not a matter of the television show, the microphone, the podcast, YouTube. Doesn't matter. This is just how he is all the time. Like, I feel so sorry for his wife because I'm sure he just comes out of the family room, walks into the kitchen to try to pour himself another drink, and she's got to listen to him rant and rave about some player that she might not even have ever heard of, like CJ Stroud, for example. Oh, yeah. I mean, or care about. Give that woman an award. I'll tell you what, you went off the radar with this one. I like it because I'm with you that I think this might actually be a higher scoring affair than people think. So with that in mind, there's going to be some player props built into this one between the Colts and the Texans that you may want to lean into the over, because I do think it's going to be a surprise. I mean, the over under is at what, like 39.5, 40.5, something, isn't it something like that? Yep. I would take the over. I just think this is one of those weird ones that we're going to get some scores that probably shouldn't happen. We're going to wind up with some defensive hole that just gets completely exploited. So I do kind of like the over. And because of that, let's ride with CJ Stroud, see if he can get us a little off the radar payday.
Don't make me bitter, CJ Stroud.
Number 1.
All right, numero uno on the Fade 5 Week 2 edition. My top player prop of the weekend, Jahan Dodson. Give me the over, 42.5 receiving yards against Lundy's Denver Broncos, -115, available at BetMGM. This is a prime example of the mother of all matchups and on paper and who he's going to go against. And Mathis in that secondary, who was torched like a creme brulee in Week 1 by Jacoby Myers, not once, but twice. Jacoby, I never catch any touchdown. Myers had 2 scores because Mathis couldn't cover him. And I think that is going to be the case for Sam Howell in this game, focusing on somebody that Patrick Surtain is not going to be blanketing in the game, and that's going to be Dodson, because Surtain likely is going to be on scary Terry McLaurin. So that's why I like the over here at 42.5 receiving yards. You look at Dodson, what he did in Week 1 against Arizona Cardinals. Handsome 7 targets, caught 5 balls for just 40 yards, rather low ADOT. And he was splitting some action outside and in the slot. That ADOT, by the way, 9.1. The yards per route run, rather uneventful 1.14. But it's all about maximize the matchup against Mathis. Mathis was targeted 9 times, gave up a snowman in the box score, 8 receptions, along with those pair of touchdowns, and 95 yards. That shook out to a 150.2 passer rating allowed, which was the highest among qualifying cornerbacks in week number 1. You might say, well, Brad, it's just a 1-game sample size, but I will clack and roll the dice, knowing I really like Dodson and his separation skills and a nice little rhythm he's already started to build with Sam Howell. So put it all together, fade or follow Lundy, Jahan Dodson, over 42.5 receiving yards in the Mile High City against your Broncos, -115 at BetMGM.
Somebody's going to torch the Broncos on Sunday, so it might as well be him. I mean, you could roll the dice, you can take your pick, you can talk about the other receivers and all that, but chances are they're going to give up some yardage. True story, by the way. My wife got invited on Sunday, so I get to be one of the dudes out on the field holding the flag during the anthem.
Oh, really?
Yeah, my wife and I got invited. We get to go down on the field and be the ones to hold the flag. So I'll try not to embarrass our country while I'm down there on the field, because God knows I embarrassed myself in plenty of other opportunities. But yeah, true story. My wife got invited to do that, so she and I are going to be on the field holding the flag during the anthem. So anyway, I digress. Go back to this. Dodson will take advantage of this defense right now. It's not as good as a lot of folks thought that it could be. Vance Joseph still has that dumb look on his face on the sideline. It doesn't matter if he's the head coach or the defensive coordinator. He still has the same damn look on his face every time. So I'm not quite buying into it. There's talent on this team. I just don't think they've quite figured themselves out yet.
Do it for freedom. Do it for independence. Do it for America. And Nate Lundy holding the flag. God damn it. Take Jahan Dodson over the receiving yards against the Broncos. Maybe some other selections that could build your bankroll in these United States of America. It's bonus time. Lundy got the floor. College, pro. What do you like?
Let me give you another player prop that I like. Frankly, folks, if in full transparency, I've been looking a lot at this college slate, and I have not spent as much time looking on Sunday yet as I probably will do later this afternoon going into tomorrow while I'm watching the college games. A lot of times that's what I'm doing during the big noon kickoff stuff as I'm actually starting to look at Sunday. So just FYI, I will have more picks for you. I'll get them posted up both on the spreadsheet and across social. But one that I do recommend here right out of the gate, I'm going to go to Cole Kmet and take the over on 30.5 receiving yards for Kmet. You're talking about a Bucs team that got absolutely torched in week 1 by the tight end position, like to the tune of about 85 yards. And I understand that part of that was obviously going up against a guy like TJ Hawkinson, who had 8 catches by himself. But it shows a vulnerability on that defense of the Bucs. And so even though Chicago's going on the road, all this kind of stuff, I'm just feeling it for Kmet. I'm going to take the over. There's no juice on either side of it. It's standard right now, but I'm going to play the over on the 30.5. I think if he can get at least 3 catches, he's going to be able to get to that number. Let me rewind now. Let's talk some college football. I already gave you my favorite plus odds. Decided to go ahead because it's the only thing anybody is freaking talking about in this damn country right now, and that's Deion Sanders. So if I don't give you a bet on the Buffs game, given the fact that I'm less than an hour away from the stadium where I sit right now, I think I'm violating some sort of sports media law. So I need to go ahead and give you this one. This is an alt line spread for the Rocky Mountain Showdown between Colorado and Colorado State. And it is a late game, by the way. 10 o'clock Eastern time is when this one kicks off on Saturday night. So if you're chasing some dollars, you can get plus odds with this one. Simple 2-leg. I'm going to bring the spread down, and I'm going to take Colorado minus 19.5. I need them to win by at least 20. They should be able to do that against, frankly, an undermanned Colorado State Rams team. And then I'm going to take the total down to 56.5 and play the over. So Colorado's got to win by 20. We got to have at least 57 points scored in the game. If you do those two alt lines together over at DraftKings, you can get that one at a plus 118. By the way, I checked the schedule, Brad. There are 70 college football games on Saturday just at the senior level. So, forget all the rest. All right, now let me backtrack into this evening. This is kind of a funky one. It's a plus odds play that I just kind of like, that I found. I managed to get the total in Air Force and Utah State when it was at 47.5, and I played the under in that one. It's now down to about 46. I don't know how much I still like it at that level, in part because if you take the last 2 meetings between these 2 teams, Brad, final scores of 34-27 and 49-45. So it is one of these matchups that every now and then skews the other way, but I do think the way Air Force is playing and the way their defense is, that they can manage to keep this one low scoring. But I'll give you a fun one. At DraftKings right now, you can take the win margin for Air Force between 7 and 12 points. They got to win it between 7 and 12. That is plus 390 odds at DraftKings right now. And to give you an idea, folks, Air Force is favored in this one by 9.5. So that window of 7 to 12 is plus 390. I already popped a half unit bet on that one. Over to baseball we go. Couple of guys that I really like for this evening. First of all, I know they're on the road, but Matt Olson can break the single season home run record for the Braves tonight in Miami. And Johnny Cueto is going to be on the bump for Miami. Now, lifetime, Olson is only 2 for 9 against Cueto. Both of them are round trippers, though. I am going to go with Olson to be able to break the record tonight, and keep an eye on where you decide to bet this particular one, because you can manage to pop yourself about an extra 75 points if you bounce over. I think it was on FanDuel that I saw the best odds for it. I don't have the number in front of me, but I'm taking Olson, and I'm taking him to be able to break the record tonight on those home runs. And then a dude that has been thankfully cashing for me and making up for all of my shitty football picks is Rafael Devers, who is batting .416 over the course of the last week. He's absolutely raking so far in the month of September. I know he's going on the road, but he's going to face off with Jose Barrios, who he's only got a .233 lifetime average against. But of his 7 hits, 5 of them are of the extra base variety. So I am doing my trick of basically going all in. So total bases for Devers over at DraftKings, best odds plus 110. By the way, I think it's Bet Rivers actually has it at minus odds. So take advantage of the plus 110 that you can get over at DraftKings. I'm doing the same thing for his HRR, hits plus runs plus RBI. I'm taking him for an RBI at plus 165 as well. Devers is just, like I said, the way he has been playing, I believe in it. And part of the reason that I like the RBI, folks, for Devers is in 32 plate appearances against Berrios, he's only struck out 4 times. So he's putting the ball in play. If somebody's on base, even if it's a sac fly, he's got a good opportunity to get that RBI. So a couple guys that I'm going all in on tonight, Devers and Matt Olson. I yield the floor to the gentleman from Illinois.
All right, rapid fire style here. I got a lot to get to. The Team Huevos parlay play of the day. I'd rather Team Raisins, to be honest with you. But I need a winner badly. I got to build up the bankroll. I was shedding dollars left and right here the last few days. So all this two-legger, give me Trevor Lawrence, 2+ passing touchdowns. We already had that, along with 259 yards this last matchup against Kansas City. I think it's going to be a high-scoring affair. I think he throws 2 more, maybe one to my boy Zay Jones. Maybe Calvin Ridley, the other, possibly Christian Kirk only played 60% of the snaps last week. I don't care who catches him. Just throw him into the end zone. And then Desmond Ridder, give me the under 1.5 passing touchdowns. All Atlanta does is run the football. They had the second highest run percentage of any team in the league last year. They're on pace to be top 3 yet again this year. I just don't see the opportunities being there for the ATL in their matchup against Green Bay and that outstanding secondary. With Jair Alexander and Rasul Douglas. So you put those two together, Lawrence 2+ passing touchdowns and Ridder under 1.5 passing touchdowns. Very simple. Plus 139 available at DraftKings Sportsbook. Elsewhere at Bubba Dance time. 3 other bets I like in the NFL this weekend. Jahmyr Gibbs, give me the over on 65.5 rushing plus receiving yards in his matchup against the Seattle Seahawks. The coaching staff's already come out. Dan Campbell, straight from the horse's mouth, said he's going to get more opportunities starting this week. My guess is around 40 to 50% of the snap share, probably 10 to 12 touches, and I think that's all he needs to maybe to get like 70 combined yards. Remember, he forced more missed tackles of any running back in week numero uno, and he only had 7 carries, and he forced 6 missed tackles with a gaudy 4.86 yak per attempt. In Seattle was near the bottom of the barrel in EPA run defense, though they looked a hell of a lot better with the superficial data, and that was more because the run blocking was so horrendous last week for the LA Rams. But still, I believe that Gibbs, whether via the ground or the air, in a combination of the two, will get over 65.5 rush plus receiving yards. Rachaad White against my Chicago Bears. He scores a touchdown, plus 160. Locked and loaded that sucker at BetMGM. He had all 7 of Tampa's red zone touches among the rushers in week number 1. And you might say, well, he went 17 for 39 and 2 for 10 through the air. That's all fine and dandy, but he also played on 74% of the team snaps. He is the indisputable workhorse in this offense, and the Bears are Berenstein Bears, gummy bears. They're a joke defensively, evidenced by, well, they allowed Aaron Jones last week, another versatile running back, and in total to the Green Bay backs, 185 total yards and 2 touchdowns. White, I think, splashes 6. Let's think of the running back market. I love Bijan Robinson. I'll take the over on receiving yards. Every time it's going to be under 20 receiving yards on the market, I'm going to bet the over on it because he is going to be the object of versatility. And when Desmond Ridder throws the ball, it's not going to be so often to Drake London or Kyle Pitts. He'll check down to the backs and Robinson and Algier. So I think he's going to be busy as a receiver like he was in week 1. He ran 19 routes. He had 6 targets. He had all 6 of those targets for receptions for 27 yards and a touchdown. And it's 17.5. That's it. In Green Bay last week against my Bears, allowed 11 receptions for 80 yards to Chicago rushers. That's Foreman and Herbert and Johnson. So I think that he'll sail past this one. This could hit in the first half by itself. And you want baseball, Lundy? Of course you want baseball.
Yes.
I've got a baseball bet.
Quit wimping out, asshole. Come on. Give me some hardball.
Hey, Kodai Senga, yesterday was awesome. It hit again on the walks and strikeouts prop on that SGP. Let's go to a two-legger in the pitcher market. Give me Justin Steele over 17.5 outs in his matchup in Arizona, and give me Logan Webb over 17.5 outs in Colorado. You put those two together, it's plus 200. Steele just did this recently against Arizona. That was at Wrigley. He went 7 strong on September 9th. Arizona just number 25 in total runs scored here the last couple of weeks. And Steele is in the Cy Young conversation for a reason. 1.36 ERA in his last 5 games. He'll go at least 6 innings. And I believe Webb will do the same. He has done it in 2 of the rematchups against the Rockies this season. Now, last time he was at Coors, earlier this year, only went 5 1/3, but the Rockies, we know offensively, they're suspect. Number 17 in total runs scored here last couple of weeks. Webb has gone over this in 7 of his last 9 appearances. So Steele, 6 innings or more. Webb, 6 innings or more. Put those two together, again, plus 200. I am out of breath. We are out of time. We got to get the heck out of here. I got to stop. I got to start preparing my liver and my mind for Illinois' eventual beatdown handed out by Penn State early in the morning on Saturday. Drop us a rating and a review if you enjoy this podcast, would you kindly? Also, feed or follow us on the Twitter/the X. Check out Lundy and his free spreadsheet picks at Nate Lundy. I do the same thing at Noisy Huevos. When they finally quaffed Nate Lundy, I am Brad Evans. Until next time, as always, feed or follow. That is up to you.